shaped my life, I would like to talk to you all about. And this is not something new, this is something that I believe you all must be hearing everywhere around you, which is around data and insights. All around you in your course, in whatever you read, in people that you talk to, you hear a lot of data, big data, analytics, um, machine learning, AI, all of these terms around you. And suddenly, all of these terms have become way more important than they used to be few years back. So why do you think that has happened? Why is data and everything become suddenly so important? Anyone? Why do you think we have so much emphasis on these terms these days? So earlier what used to happen is, if you want to know anything about your consumer, you could only ask them. वो ऐसे बड़े बड़े कागज सबने देखे होंगे, सर्वे के होते थे जिसमें क्वेश्चंस होते थे एंड आंसर्स होते थे, एंड सम ऑफ यू मस्ट हैव फिल्ड दोज एज वेल. That was the only way of understanding your consumers. But today, there is a lot of data that we all leave behind, all the online activities that we do, which can help you in understanding your consumer without even asking a single question from them. So what you see here is what happens in 1 minute of the day on the internet. How much data are we all leaving behind? So if you see, there are over 5 million Google searches happening every minute on the internet. There are more than 6 million people who are shopping online every minute of the day. And these are traces of information that is left on the internet, which we all can access, analyze, and understand our consumer better with. So because of this wide availability of data, especially online data, all of these terms and all of these fields around data and insights have suddenly gathered so much more importance than what they used to be a few years back. But what is also important is, while we have a lot of data, having just data is never enough. Data is just a dump that until and unless you process, until and unless you convert it into something very important, something that tells you what to do with your own business, or something that gives you something actionable, you cannot use it. So while we have a lot of data today, what we really do not have is insights. So what are insights? Yeah, please.
Something meaningful that is derived from the data which can be used in further decision making.
Right. Something meaningful which can be used in decision making, right? Decision making be the key here. Anyone else? What is insights?
The conclusion that we draw, seeking various aspects of the data, analyzing everything, and coming to a conclusion for the decision making.
Right. The conclusion that we draw. Yes. So you were right in your own way. So insight is something that you derive from the fact or the information that you already have. Insight is something that not only presents a truth but presents an opportunity that you can work upon, that presents something actionable that companies can work upon. And while we have a lot of data, like I talked about, and we all, some of you are even checking phone, you are checking your Instagram, Facebook, whatever, you are leaving traces of information even now. So we have all of this data available with all organizations, be it a very small organization to a multinational company. But what if the situation currently is, we are all starved for insights. We have a lot of data, but we do not know how to make sensible, actionable information out of that data. And that is what I would like to discuss with all of you today. The most important thing in deriving an insight is, do not get confused between a fact and an insight. And I'll show you some examples that how you derive an insight from a fact. But what you need to be very clear is, अगर आपको कुछ information पता चलती है, if you are reading a chart, if you are reading some information, that is just a fact. Insight is when you triangulate that fact, when you combine a lot of other things with that fact, and then come up with something actionable. In fact, A lot of you in your early career, what you are going to present a lot of things, especially in your course work as well. There will be a lot of presentations that you make, and even when you join the corporate world, there will be a lot of things that you will be analyzing and presenting. And then it is important to understand that most of the time what happens is we do a fact-filled presentation and not a fact-based presentation. Now, what is a fact-filled presentation versus a fact-based presentation? Assume karo there is a slide in which there is in which there is a chart which says that the gender of students in the MBA course is 60% female and 40% male. And then what happens is most of the early stage professionals, they will put a comment on it saying 60% of whatever they are seeing in the chart is females and 40% is male. That is a fact-based presentation. Okay. Please remember when you enter into your corporate life, especially in your early years, do not do fact-based presentation. ये चेक नहीं है, हमें यहाँ पे अमाउंट इन वर्ड अमाउंट इन टेक्स्ट नहीं लिखना है. सेम चीज़ जो हमें नीचे चार्ट में दिख रही है, we don't have to put a comment saying the same thing again. We need to put your own mind. You need to combine it with some other information and make it a more fact-based presentation. So that is another thing which is important when you are looking at data. The third thing is, and this is something that I have seen very commonly, that generally हम क्या करते हैं, whenever you ask a question and you get an answer, you only talk about what the majority is saying. You only talk about what the majority is saying. So for example, if there is a question and 80% have answered in a particular way, people only talk about those 80% of the people. So for example, if I ask you, are you feeling happy today? And okay, let me ask, are you feeling happy today? How's your mood today? Yeah, okay. So I can see that around 90% or so, an approximate guess, are feeling happy today. So what we generally do is, we only talk about those 90% and ignore the 10% people who are not feeling happy or who are saying something other than what the majority is saying. But the real insight not only lies with that 90% but also with that 10%. So we need to also hear what the minority is saying. जो 10% लोग आज इस हॉल में खुश नहीं हैं, वो क्यों खुश नहीं हैं? That is also what will give you a lot of insight. And especially in companies, you know what happens is you get a lot of new product ideas. You get a lot of innovation ideas when you listen to the minority. I'm not saying that do not listen to what the majority is saying, but also do not discard what the minority is saying. So I'll give you one example. So for example, conditioners. A lot of people use conditioner after using shampoo. A lot of you also must be doing that, and then they wash it off. But there were very few people who said that we do not wash the conditioner from our hair. Very few people. It would be less than 2% of the people. But that presented an opportunity in the market for leave-in conditioner. A type of conditioner that you do not have to wash off. You can simply leave it in your hair. So all of this new product ideas, new innovation, new thinking, breakthroughs come when you listen also to the minority of the people and not just to the majority of the people. So as future managers, when you look at any kind of information, these are three things that I want you to be very careful about. One is, do not confuse what we read as a fact with the insight. Actually, insight is such an abused term that everything people read, they call it insight. So that is one big no. Second is, do not do fact-filled presentations. Do fact-based presentation and try to start that right now. Within your coursework also. Whenever you are presenting to your professors, to whatever you are presenting to your peers, try to start this habit from now so that you can better it over the 2 years. And third is, listen to not only what the majority is saying, but also what the minority is saying. So coming to fact and insight. So how do you actually convert a fact to an insight? Let me share with you, some examples of that. Have you seen this Snickers ad? Yeah. And so most of you have seen this ad. Okay. I'll just take this example of a Snickers ad to see how the fact is evolved to an insight which was used in making this ad. So what is the fact? The fact is जब हमें भूख लगती है तो हमें we become restless, हमें गुस्सा आता है. Hunger makes you very restless and angry. Yeah, you guys agree?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So hunger makes you very angry and restless is a fact. Now what does this mean? This means that when we are hungry, there are some consequences of that hunger, and those are psychological consequences of that hunger. So what we do is हम analyze करते हैं कि उसके psychological consequences क्या क्या होते हैं, कौन से abnormal behavior लोग show करते हैं जब उन्हें भूख लगती है, कौन से odd behavior वो show करते हैं. So when you analyze it from that angle, it is then that you understand that people do not behave as themselves when they are hungry. So you are not you when you are hungry. That is the insight that you have from the fact. And that is the insight that this ad is based on, which says, hunger अच्छे अच्छों को बदल देता है. So you are not you anymore. So fact, भूख लगती है, गुस्सा आता है, सबको पता है. If you look back at it, this is not new information, ना, हम सबको ये information पता है. But taking it from that fact to that insight that you are not you when you are hungry is the journey that we all need to take from going from data to insight. So this was more from a communication. I'll also take a product example. All of you have heard about Airbnb? Yeah? Okay. Now let us just analyze the fact and the insight that Airbnb is based on. Fact क्या है? Airbnb या travel के around fact क्या है? And this is especially pre-COVID. COVID disrupted travel industry in a very big way. But before COVID क्या होता था? There was an increase in travel that was happening. And because people had been to already known places, they were exploring a lot of these, virgin places, not so known places. और ऐसी जगह पे अच्छे hotels मिलना, अच्छे accommodation मिलना was very difficult. So one fact is, it is very difficult to find a good accommodation in a not so known places. The other fact is, sometimes अगर आपको अच्छा accommodation मिल भी जाता है, it is not basis your choice. So sometimes you want to carry your pets around with you, or you want to make your own food. तो वो सब चीज़ें आपके उस accommodation में नहीं होती हैं. These are facts. Then combining it with some other observation or around travel, कि travel जब हम करते हैं to not so known places, हम क्यों करते हैं? What is the one thing that we like about such places? Local, indigenous things about that places, right? Actually, if I share from my experience, my thing of going to such places would be that I get to enjoy the local cuisine over there. I get to meet people over there. I get to see what kind of clothes they wear, the traditional wear that they have. I can buy stuff that is, only found at that place. So the local culture is what helps in creating memories of that particular place, and that is a very strong observation around travel. So, and another observation is when you go to these places, especially smaller places, लोगों के they have place in their home. उनके छोटे छोटे घर नहीं होते. Like in metros, we have less space in our house. They have big spaces. They have large, bigger homes. So there is a lot of unused space in their home. Now, if you combine all of these facts and the observation कि हमें लोकल लोगों से मिलना अच्छा लगता है, पर हमें एकोमोडेशन का प्रॉब्लम हो रहा है, पर जो लोग हैं उनके पास अपने घर में बहुत ज़्यादा जगह है. So if you combine all of this, this is something that will give you something actionable. This is what presents that opportunity, that sharing of that unused space with the host of that local place with travelers is something that is a very good business idea for both the host as well as for the guest. And that is the idea behind Airbnb. So what are we doing here? We are taking nuggets of fact from different directions. We are combining it with the observation around travel, and then we are translating it to something which is actionable, to something which presents an opportunity. So insight is an actionable item which presents an opportunity. And it is always जब आप पीछे देखते हो ना, इन रेट्रोस्पेक्ट इट सीम्स सो ऑब्वियस कि हाँ ये तो है ही, बट दैट एग्जैक्टली इज इनसाइट विच सीम्स वेरी ऑब्वियस इन रेट्रोस्पेक्ट एंड प्रेजेंट्स एन अपॉर्चुनिटी टू यू. So there is a very standard 5W method that I like to talk to you guys about, and this is something that you can very well apply in your life to go from fact to insight. हम organization में भी इसको use करते हैं with a larger set of audience who is not the core insight professional but other stakeholders. What is this 5W method? 5W method is nothing. आप एक fact से शुरू करो and you keep asking why. एक fact है वो क्यों है, the second why, the third why, the fourth why, and then in last you ask, so what? What is it that I need to do with this information? So I'll give you an example of this. So I used to work with Whirlpool, and Whirlpool is a refrigerator and washing machine manufacturer. Now during the COVID period, because businesses were suffering, we all were trying to find out what is it that we can do to make it better. And there is a fact from the market that we got that people are buying more stuff per shopping trip. So whenever they are going out to buy vegetables or fruits, they are buying much more than usual. So why do you think that was happening? कोविड में लोग ज़्यादा सामान क्यों खरीद रहे थे हर बार?
Feeling of shortage of product, shortage of market.
Yeah, because there was shortage of product, because they wanted to go out again and again. Why there was a shortage of product? Because of the supply chain issues. Why they wanted to go out again and again? Because of the risk of getting the virus. So, what does it mean for me? What does it mean for me, who is a refrigerator manufacturer?
Increase demand of the refrigerator.
To make this space.
Get this space, right? Yes?
People are buying products in bulk, they need to store it. And
Yeah.
if it is a perishable item, it needs to be stored in a proper temperature. So they can target the stores from where people can buy, because they also need to store the product in bulk. And to the consumers as well who are buying it in bulk and need to store it.
Right? Yes? Someone has a hand up there? Yes?
The same point what Amit mentioned, that
Okay.
people are buying, they have to store it somewhere. So
Huh.
refrigerator is the most appropriate thing to store.
Right. So yes. So ये coming back to the fact, ये fact कि लोग ज़्यादा सामान खरीद रहे हैं in each shopping trip is a fact जो हम सबको पता है. Everyone in this room knew of this, and we were also demonstrating this fact. हम भी जब बाहर जा रहे थे तो we were purchasing more. But the so what part of it? So what does it mean for me as a business that people want more capacity? Product में बहुत सारे features होते हैं. The trade-off that consumer was willing to make during that particular period of time was more capacity over any other kind of value-add features. So if you give them two products, one has a lot of other fancy features, one has more capacity, and both are at the same price, they are more likely to pick up the more capacity one. And that is how the so what part of it presented this opportunity that we kind of push the market in the market the products which had more capacity over other features that would be there in the refrigerator. So, and this is a simple method that you can apply in your personal life or your professional life, wherever. It's very simple. You keep asking whys of that fact, and then you ask so what or now what. What does it mean to you as a person, or what does it mean to you as a business? Very simple 5W method, something that is very easy to remember and something that is very relevant and gives you very nice information. So this is how you move from fact to insight. So never take the fact as an insight. Try to go to the next level of information to derive the insight from that fact. So yeah, I think this is what I want all of you to leave with, that pivoting is normal, like I talked about my personal experience, and so is failing. Actually, we don't normalize failure, but it is very normal, and the kind of experience that you get from failing, the kind of person that it makes you, is you become a much stronger person than you become at just succeeding at everything. So it's normal, it's okay. If you want to change career, if you want to change your direction, please do that. Please feel free to do that. Do not hesitate. Do not fall for कि इतना effort, इतना time लगा दिया तो अब यही करना है. Please do not fall for that. Adaptability and upskilling, because we know that the world is changing very fast. जो jobs आज से 3 साल पहले थी वो आज नहीं है, जो आज हैं वो आज से 3 साल बाद नहीं होंगी. There is always new fields that are coming up, new areas that are coming up. So while this college and your professors and teachers will teach you everything that is relevant today, it is your responsibility to keep upskilling yourself once you enter the workforce. Data and insights driven decisions, like I talked about, it is very important that you see data in the right way and you are able to derive actionable information from that data, because data बहुत है, उसमें से actionable information निकालना important है. And just be very curious and open. Don't be very rigid in your life. Be flexible. Keep asking questions. And I'm sure you guys will be, one of the few best future managers that we will have out there. Thank you. Any questions you can take?
So whoever has any questions, he will be there to with the mic.
First of all, very good morning, ma'am.
Good morning.
How can be the difference between facts and insights? Actual comparison between them. I want to know.
So like I said, fact is just information. अगर fact से आपको लगता है कि आप उस पे you can't action on it, there is nothing that you can do about it in your personal life or in your business, then it is not an insight. Insight is something that gives you an opportunity, that gives you an aha moment कि हाँ मुझे ये निकल के आया है fact में से. So that is when you know it's an insight and not a fact.
Thank you, ma'am.
So in the start of the presentation, you talked about using customer insight and customer information to and using it in business. So how much the AkzoNobel is using it in their consumer business and forecasting methods?
So at AkzoNobel, we really have consumer at the core. We are a paints company, and so we make paints. And you need to understand a lot of consumer trends in both architecture, कि आजकल किस तरह के घर बन रहे हैं, as well as consumer trends in the terms of the colors that they would like to have inside their home, because that also keeps changing basis a lot of things basically. So we keep that at the core. There are a lot of studies that we do around it, and we use that information and insights to move ahead in our business. We use it for our product portfolio planning. We use it for deciding what would be the color of the year, and for multiple other things.
So a follow-up question on that: AkzoNobel has multiple products that they serve, and multiple businesses that they do. So there's consumer business base, and then there's B2B businesses, which is for your captive and commercial base. So how is that? How do you separate the two by doing these forecasting methods? Is there a separate kind of forecasting that you do for B2B business compared to what you do for B2C business?
Yeah, the forecasting will always be separate for these kind of businesses, because B2B will have different components. The industry will grows differently than what consumer industry grows like. So yeah, these are two separate ways. But we do use analytics to forecast what the growth would be like in both of these businesses. Yeah, I think he has a question.
Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning.
European countries are putting a lot of effort in data privacy. Is it really possible to privatize the data?
Yes, actually not only European countries, but even when we do research in India, there are some rules that you need to abide by. So for example, if I am asking something from 100 people, I can't read the results by the consumer name. So I can only read the results at an aggregate level. So talking specifically from research and insight, whenever we read data, we read it at an aggregate level, or we read it by segment of consumers, like people between the age group of 18 to 25 said this. So we never associate personal details with the information that consumer has given us. So even in our country, not only in European countries, and especially in research industry, there are rules that we follow for this.
Thank you. But there are a lot of cases arising that data has been leaked.
See, you can't do much about those cases, and that is not something that we can handle. But see, because there is such a sharp growth in online behavior, and online it is easy to get your data or even hack it. So when there is exponential growth in any sector, you will also hear exponential news about the bad practices of that sector. But as we, I think, as we go ahead and this tends to normalize further, there will be rules in place, and there are GDPR compliances already, but more stringent rules in place that can protect it to a certain level. There are some, powerhouses that control a lot of data, and it is very difficult what they do with it and not do with it. That is a black box for us. But I'm sure, going ahead, things will be better than what they are today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Analytical tool deals with uncertainty. Like COVID hit, so I believe data analytical tool would be completely obsolete since the records, everything got changed. So how was research part needs a human interference.
Yeah.
Anything that data analytical tools can respond to it?
See, actually, data analytical tools were not obsolete during COVID period, and we still used the tools for forecasting what the business would look like. But what you do in these situations, especially situations which are very volatile, is you do a lot of situation analysis. So there is no one prediction that you do. You do multiple predictions based on multiple scenarios. So scenario one, if COVID cases decrease over the next 6 months, what would the business look like? Scenario two, if COVID stays for 2 years, it is not that the tools become obsolete. There's just a different way to use them.
But what about the instant reaction onto it? Like the moment government of India released that lockdown would be imposed, how was your organization able to cope up with that at a very first level?
See, honestly, at a very first level, for the first few days, I think none of us knew that it's going to be this long that COVID would be there. So it was more of a wait and watch scenario. But once we completed, I think the month one of being at home and being in this COVID situation, we got back into action and we started, like I said, plotting various situations on what would business look like if this continues for XYZ period of time. Thank you. I can hear you, don't worry. Tell me.
Yeah, I have a question. Since we are talking about the data analytics all across the business, but my question is very specific to marketing. So I just wanted to know that what are the areas where you emphasize more with respect to marketing analytics?
A lot of field, especially because in marketing a lot of spends is on advertising. And advertising, like earlier, the way we used to advertise and the channels used to be very different, but now digital is a very big part of it. So especially where to spend your money on what kind of channels, on what kind of segment on consumers, how to reach them best, is something, and in marketing, in research term, it is called a triple M, which is marketing modeling mix. So where to spend how much money to get the most amount of ROI is something that we use a lot in marketing these days. Besides that, there are other things like you track how your brand is doing, so brand health exercises. You track how happy your consumers are, so loyalty programs, tracking NPS. When you launch a new product, you track how that product is doing. So multiple other things, but a lot of spends in marketing analytics are on advertising and campaigns around the brand.
Okay, so one more question following the previous question. The point is you have mentioned pricing, development, and marketing channels. So with respect to the color industry where you are in, so which is the area where it has a greater significance, like pricing, segmentation, or marketing channel?
Marketing channel, I think in these days has a greater significance for a lot of industry and so for us as well. Paints, most categories of paints are still something that consumer purchases offline, but there's still a lot of before purchase information search that happens online. and therefore you need to, be there for your consumers. Also, there are some categories like DIY products, which consumer also purchases online. So for us also, it is about the channels and the advertising, how to make the best of our advertising where a lot of our marketing analytics spend goes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.